finally Friday. It's Friday, Friday.
Thank God it's
Welcome back to the Friday Show, presented by MyRacehorse.com. Coming up, we'll tell you more details about how you can get involved at the highest levels of the sport at the lowest possible price point. I'm Scott Jagow, along with Ray Paulick. Hope you're enjoying the holidays. We're looking forward to the new year. Ray, I mean, this year is almost over, and what a year it was for horse racing. We've never seen anything like it, from the fatalities at Santa Anita to the disqualification of Maximum Security in the Kentucky Derby. When you look back and in your mind's eye, from January 1st, 2019 to now, how's your perception about racing and its future changed?
There are people that have been in this business a long time, longer than me, maybe they're second generation, third generation people in the business, who are concerned about the future survival of this game. And, you know, that comes down to what we saw at Santa Anita and you know, unfortunately what we saw at the Breeders' Cup, which to me is a perfect microcosm of the year. Record handle, big 2-day event, a lot of people were there, and yet the very last day, 300 yards from the finish, we had a fatality when Mongolian Groom broke down. And the whole mood of the event shifted from what a great success this has been to what a terrible tragedy. And it's hard to move on from things like this.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. It was so tough. We're so close to getting through that event, but it shows you again the fragility of these animals. And we've talked a lot about the different factors that could have gone into the fatalities that we've seen. But we need to look forward. I mean, the sport is still beloved by many, and we need to look forward to 2020 and what must happen in the next year to ensure a better future for this business that we all love. So let's look ahead and, you know, kind of predict what you think are the top stories of next year. I think the obvious starting point is thoroughbred safety.
Yeah, there's no question about that the continuation of what started at Santa Anita and continued at other tracks around the country, it went from just being a Santa Anita or California problem to an industry problem. We've seen media coverage in Texas and Maryland and Florida and New York that are looking at the sport differently than it's ever been looked at before because of fatalities. The Thoroughbred Safety Coalition was created. We don't know exactly what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, but it's there. It would be nice if they could follow up with some more specificity, because I don't think the Horse Racing Integrity Act, which now has half of the members of the House of Representatives as co-sponsors, that's not going anywhere as long as Mitch McConnell and Churchill Downs oppose it.
From state to state, we still have this issue of not having enough uniformity, even within one company. The Stronach Group doesn't have the same measures in place in Maryland and Florida as they do in California. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. To me, one of the top stories in 2020 should be getting on the same page with all this stuff. You said the Horse Racing Integrity Act might not pass. That would be a great start to get more uniformity if we could get an independent oversight agency like USADA to step in. And I think that would be a huge boost for this sport. But, you know, the odds right now are not looking great for that happening anytime soon. So in the meantime, we should at least be able to get on the same page with these regulations. In New York and Maryland and Florida and Kentucky and some of these other states pass the same regulations with regards to safety that California has done, so that we feel more confident that the horses that are running in these races are as safe as possible.
Yeah, it's easy to say, but when you have horsemen's groups that oppose some of the medication reforms, I don't know, and they have some influence at the commission level. I don't know how it's going to happen across the country. I would like to be confident that the Thoroughbred Safety Coalition can get this stuff done, but they haven't explained how how are they going to wield any sort of hammer or have teeth to go beyond recommendations and encouragement and that sort of thing.
Well, another issue that I think will be big in 2020 is the racing surface itself. In particular, if we start seeing another rash of fatalities at one racetrack, whether it's Santa Anita or some other place, and it's on dirt, a lot of them, that's going to be a big problem for the industry to explain why they haven't switched to a safer surface. And the data does say that when it comes to catastrophic injuries, synthetic surfaces are safer. And they're better because they can be improved, and they've been improved over the recent years. Just look at what Tapeta has done around the world. So to me, that story is kind of a hit or miss thing in 2020. If these fatalities continue, I don't see how the industry can't look at synthetics and start moving in that direction.
Well, the Kentucky breeders are probably the ones who lobbied the hardest to have Keeneland remove its polytrack surface a few years ago. And they have a lot of influence in this industry. I'm not sure that they're going to allow it to happen. And now they're not going to be able to control what happens in California, because that's going to be driven by the governor, by the California Horse Racing Board, which previously did a mandate, as we talked about. But I don't see it happening at tracks like Churchill Downs. Keeneland said they're not going down that path again. NYRA, are they going to put a synthetic track down over the 1.5-mile Belmont strip? Highly unlikely, although there's a lot of talk about what is the future of NYRA in terms of having Aqueduct and Belmont both open. Maybe they'll find a way to put a synthetic surface within, to make it an option for horse racing in New York, if not the main surface.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is, do you want to have a sport or do you want to have dirt? I mean, it may come down to that. So if these people want to, put their foot in the ground on this, it may be too late when the politicians get involved if you haven't made those changes yet. So I think it's a dangerous path to go down if they decide to do that. All right, let's move on and talk about another issue, sports betting. I think this is going to be a huge story going forward. Starting in 2020, we've got more states coming on board with sports betting. And you can look at it two ways. It could be a benefit for horse racing because, like, for example, FanDuel, which is owned in part by TVG, or they're part of the same company, horse racing could be on that platform, that online platform, alongside other sports, making it an option for people who want to find some betting action. On the other hand, let's not kid ourselves, it's also a competitor to horse racing, and we've seen that with slot machines through the past and other forms of gambling, thinking, oh, this will benefit horse racing, and it actually doesn't.
At least in the case with slot machines in states where they're at racetracks, there's money coming out of slot machines going into purses. I'm not aware of any state right now. Kentucky is looking at putting in sports betting, and I think maybe that would be the only state where they actually take money from sports betting and put it into purses. But New Jersey, Pennsylvania, states that have it, Indiana, states that have sports betting right now are not contributing to purses, even if the sports betting is taking place at the racetrack. So the track owners benefit. I suppose the concession people benefit, which is the track owners. But I'm not sure how horse owners benefit, other than the fact that you might have more people there. But I'd remind you to look at Las Vegas. When you go to one of the major sports books, the Westgate or something, you see how huge these places are and how small the portion is devoted to horse racing. So this is a juggernaut, sports betting, and we're not stopping it because it's coming, and it's coming almost everywhere. But yeah, I don't see it as a big friend.
Yeah, well, at least in a lot of these places, it is taking place at the racetrack. I don't think that can hurt. Getting more people who, they want to bet, well, they got to go to the racetrack. And then you have the product there available to them to bet on live. So, there could be some benefit there. But one area where racing really needs to pay attention is the takeout. Because against sports betting, it doesn't look so good. And you've just recently, there was a story out of Australia, one of Australia's biggest horse racing bettors. He was betting like $2 million a week or something ridiculous. He's not betting horse racing anymore because he believes the taxes and the takeout are too high. And sports betting's vigorish is lower than the takeout on most wagers in horse racing. So the tracks need to be careful about this in terms of watching the takeout and lowering it to benefit horse players.
Especially at the tracks that are currently funding their purses through slot machines. Wagering doesn't account for a lot of the purse money anymore in a lot of states like Pennsylvania and I'm not sure what the split is in New York, but there's a lot of money coming from slot machines into purses. Lower the takeout so you can be more competitive when sports betting comes into those states. Places like California, New Jersey, they don't have that option. They don't have the money from slots. But if you have that money, try to lower takeout, make it more competitive.
And I think one other thing that I'd like to see is prop betting in horse racing. I mean, the Thoroughbred Idea Foundation is big on this. The data aspect of it, that's another thing. Making data free. That's a whole other subject for another show. But making the data as free as possible. And the second thing is they did a contest earlier this year, the TIF, where they had people doing prop bets. And it was fun. And the St. Louis Blues hockey team did something similar this year during the playoff run where they had people answering questions. How many goals will be scored in this game? This player, that player. Because they know sports betting is coming and it's popular. And this contest was huge, hugely popular. And it just goes to show you the possibilities that exist, even for horse racing, to have fun things like that. And I think riding the sports betting wave, that's the best you can do.
One of the things about sports betting that I think we're going to see, you said a few minutes ago that people have to go to the track or go to a facility to bet. Sports betting is going to be online pretty soon. You're going to be able to sit on your phone like you do with horse racing in most states, at least, Texas being a major exception. You're going to be able to sit on your phone and make sports bets. And I'm telling you, this is a real challenge for horse racing down the road.
Well, we have a poll on this subject, sports betting. Will it be a friend or a foe to horse racing in the year 2020? Let us know your thoughts at PaulickReport.com. Well, MyRacehorse.com is a new website that allows you to get in at the highest levels of racing for a very low price point. I'm talking $65 a share to start, and you own a piece of a racehorse. That is cool.
We all make New Year's resolutions, Scott, right? We're gonna work out more. We're gonna go on a diet. We're not gonna bet odds-on favorites anymore. Well, a lot of people have said, this is the year I'm gonna buy a racehorse. I'm gonna get into horse ownership. You can do it so easily with MyRacehorse.com. You buy the share. There's no other additional fees ever, and there's actually some pretty sweet bonuses if the horse that you are into happens to win a Grade 1 race.
In fact, it's a $6 million bonus split up between the shareholders if that happens. And as you said, there's no more, you don't have to pay any stabling costs or feeding costs. It's just the money you invest originally. And we're talking horses with Bob Baffert, Todd Pletcher, Richard Mandela. Big Mel is a 2-year-old with Baffert. There's another colt by Tappet who's going to be running in the near future. So it's high-level stuff, and it's fun, and you can get in at a low price point. Check out all the details at myracehorse.com. That's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show. Happy New Year to all of you, and we'll see you in 2020.